everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach, here to talk about overlanding gear, builds, DIY, all sorts of stuff related to modifying your vehicle. As you all know, I'm a huge proponent of Sherpa Equipment Company. I'm even wearing their shirt. I really like their products. I have a video talking about why their Crestone roof rack is absolutely insane. I'll link it up top somewhere, but basically go check that video out. What Sherpa does is their price point is a little higher than others, but they more than make up for it in the materials and the design of the product. A lot of other options on the market use a lot thinner materials or use materials that are more susceptible to bending. Many other brands out there also will sometimes have sort of odd designs for the little brackets that connect the rack to the actual roof. And I'm not really sure why some companies do this, but they'll either choose materials that are pretty susceptible to bending under weight, or they will just do the simplest option under manufacturing, but won't be the structural best for the material they've chosen. So those are kind of all things that you have to take into account whenever you're manufacturing a product. I think Sherpa has done a great job of picking the correct thicknesses, types of aluminum, and their design overall. So not to mention they make a ton of accessories for all kinds of different vehicles, and if you already own a rack, there's a good chance that they make accessories that will work with your rack. Many racks on the market right now all use 1x2 inch aluminum extrusions. I think the Land Cruiser rack they make has like a 49 or 50 inch long extrusion. The 4Runner is a 47 inch long. There's different lengths, but they're all basically the same T-channel design. So there's a lot of cross compatibility there, even if you don't own any Sherpa products yet. So today though, we're going to be talking about window panels. A lot of 4Runner racks in particular on the market are starting to come out with these window panels, and they're pretty handy. If you own a lot of off-roading gear or camping gear, you'll probably realize that interior storage is pretty limited on 4Runners. Especially if you want to sleep inside your rig, you really have to get creative. So I'm a big proponent for these window panels because I think they look awesome. I think they provide some additional protection to those rear windows. I also think they provide some cool storage opportunities as well. So I made a quick YouTube short on these rear window panels that I'm going to play for you just so you can kind of see. A lot of you maybe already saw this, but if you didn't, I'd really recommend turning on post notifications for my channel because that'll allow you to know when I'm posting the next videos. My schedule has really jumped around a lot, and you've probably noticed that. So if you've had notifications on, you've probably seen when I post, but if you don't, then you're probably maybe seeing my videos a couple days late. And it really helps me out if people check out the videos when I post them. So if you don't see them when I post them, that's gonna be a bummer. So turn on those post notifications, and if you're not subscribed, get subscribed because I make a lot of content. And this week, I think in particular, I'm gonna be putting out 2 more videos. So definitely stay tuned this week because I've got a lot of content coming. So thank you so much for the support. Let's jump into that YouTube short, and then I'll kind of talk a little bit about these products. I'm going to be mounting up a Harbor Freight Atlas brand 80-volt chainsaw. A lot of people like to run electric chainsaws because they're really light, easy to handle. This is a particularly longer blade, 18-inch blade, but you could, I think there's a 12-inch blade or 15-inch blade option as well. But there's a lot of other smaller chainsaws on the market too. And so a lot of people like these smaller sort of form factor and weight options. Just to help clear brush off the trail if there's something that's dropped. I want to thank Harbor Freight for sponsoring this chainsaw because I wanted to test it out, see if it was really up to snuff, and also mount it up on the vehicle to show you all what I'm talking about. So let's jump right into that YouTube short, and then we'll move on to talking about the products. So I recently took a trip to Colorado, and I was able to swing through Sherpa Equipment Company, and they make some awesome stuff. As you all know, I run the Crestone roof rack from Sherpa. I was able to swing in through. As you know, Sherpa has supported me through the channel, and right here what I'm showing you is one of their window panels. These bolt right up to the back of the window. So all we do is we remove a couple of bolts from the rack where crossbars are typically bolted to. Then we're able to connect this panel right to the roof rack, right where those bolts had previously been removed. That panel is vehicle specific and designed to hang there, and then a couple suction cups help to hold it away from the vehicle against that window there. You can mount a range of things here like traction boards or rotopacks or
Really, whatever you think you could think of, you can probably mount here. Just make sure to mount something that would be within the reasonable weight limit of this system.
All right, so this is going to be a fun project. I've been wanting to do something like this for a little while now because I've heard that a lot of the northern Midwest trails can sometimes be quite overgrown. So we're going to be taking this along with us. So what we got here is Harbor Freight's 80-volt brushless chainsaw, and I'm pretty excited to test this out. 18-inch blade, apparently is wicked strong. Battery doesn't last extremely long, I've heard, but I think it'll be plenty for what I need. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in this Mac tie-downs chainsaw mount. So if you follow Arkansas Off-Road, or if you follow Grant on YouTube, you've seen this bracket on his Tacoma. He highly recommended it, so I'm going to try it out. The only problem is it's silver, so sorry, Max. We're going to have to take off this sticker, and we're going to spray paint this sucker black. So went to the hardware store, picked up a couple of these. On this sort of stuff, I feel like you always want to prime it first, and we've got some self-etching primer here, and then hopefully this flat black protective enamel will do the trick. So how this works is there's a pinching mechanism at the top, and you just uncrank that and it opens it up. You crank it and it closes and it pinches on the long blade. This doesn't have any particular mounting solution, so we're going to mount this on the Sherpa Molly panel, which I think is going to be pretty sweet. And then when I'm not using the chainsaw, I can just leave this bracket on there and it should be pretty much good to go. So we'll have to drill a couple custom holes on here on how to mount it, and then we can spray paint it and get it all sorted so we can mount it up on the vehicle. All right, so I just threw a coat of the self-etching primer on here. Looks kind of olive green, but it is a gray. So we'll let that dry, come back, and probably throw another coat on.
So here's the chainsaw. I want to talk a little bit about the actual chainsaw, kind of get it up and running. And then I want to talk a little bit about kind of my experience with it so far and what I found. So this chainsaw, basically when it comes out of the packaging, you have to do a couple of things where, you adjust the tightness of the blade, which basically just moves this long shaft piece out and in from, the like housing. With chainsaws, typically you have to top off the gas and the chain oil. And this doesn't have gas, so you just have to watch your battery life. A lot of people will monitor their chain oil as kind of a function of their battery life. So I know some people know that like their chains just use up the entire cavity of chain oil in one gas tank. So then they would check both at the same time. With a battery like this, I'm not quite sure what that ratio is, but that's something to take into account and think about, is that maybe on like one battery life, you're gonna have to refill the chain bar oil twice or something. It's just something you have to take into account. As for this blade, in the instructions, they recommend that you soak the entire blade in bar and chain oil for like overnight. I think this might be a little excessive, but if you want to be extra cautious, you can. I will just note that that oil is going to drip off that chain. So what I would probably do is, like, if you're gonna do that, soak the chain and then cut a tree up or cut a brush or something to get some of that excess oil rubbed off the chain. And then when you go to mount this on your vehicle, it won't like drip down the side of the vehicle. So I had that kind of happen and I got it all cleaned off, but it's just kind of a little bit annoying. And it got a bunch of chain oil, inside that bracket. And again, it's just kind of annoying, but it's not that big a deal. When I took this on my trip, I went to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I didn't actually end up needing to use it, which is great because like no one really wants to spend a whole day on the trail just cutting up brush, but I had it along just in case. However, right after I got back, I ended up helping my neighbor cut up a bunch of tree and brush and just other, junk in his yard. And, I ran it, probably cut up 2 or 3 small trees so that we could stack them for firewood or haul away the brush. And so I was running it for maybe 30 minutes or so and on and off. and I didn't even use 1 tick of battery life. So on the battery that comes, so on the Harbor Freight battery here, what you can do is you can like click the end and it shows 4 little blocks. I didn't even get through that first block of battery. It showed that the battery was basically still fully charged. So yeah, just another thing to kind of say that these batteries do last. And I think if you were cutting up massive logs, it might have used it a little bit faster. But if you're gonna have to clear like 4 or 5 inch diameter brush, you can really cut that stuff for a long time. One other thing to note is when I went up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, I actually kind of wrapped a garbage bag around the housing of the chainsaw. The pinching on the, I don't know exactly what you call it, but the area with the chain, that all worked great. Like I was off-roading and whatever it was mounted up there, I never had a problem with it like snapping off or anything like that. So the mount seems to be structural. But as far as like water protection, whether you're hitting a puddle hard or you're driving in rain or something like that, this is an electric chainsaw, and so there are electrical components in there. I don't exactly know if like gas chainsaws are waterproof or not. I presume they're primarily mechanical, so maybe they are. But for this, I still need to find like a nice waterproof bag to put over the sort of orange housing area of the chainsaw. But overall, I really like this chainsaw, and another reason to potentially get this is if you're like me, I try to buy a lot of things for my rig that have daily life benefits too, so I'm not buying something that's like single use for the trips that I take, and like YouTube's not my full-time thing, so I'm not out on the road for 8 months of the year sort of filming and using all this stuff all the time. Like still have a 9 to 5 like everybody else, and I try to take trips with time off and on the weekends, and so if I can get some sort of daily life benefits out of this, then that's awesome. One thing I'll note is I have a weed whacker and just a big leaf blower from Harbor Freight that I purchased myself, and this battery is compatible with those, so it's really nice. I now have a weed whacker, and you can get an edge trimmer for your front yard, and you can also get like the leaf blower, which is, you know, great for the fall, and all those run on the same battery. So if you're looking for kind of adopting a at-home system sort of like that, maybe the barrier to entry is a little more worth it because you can use that battery for those other tools back at home. Or maybe that's a sales pitch to your significant other so that you can get this. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was valuable for you, and I just wanted to kind of talk through this modification. I think it's a unique use of this window panel from Sherpa, and yeah, like this is all basically aluminum, so it wasn't too bad for mounting up, and it seems to not be too heavy a weight, and didn't look like I had any problems on the side of the rig. So a lot of people though will mount up rotopacks or other things to these window panels, so there's other use cases, but I thought a chainsaw was kind of a cool use case and wanted to show you all. So thank you for the support, I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next video.